Hey guys, Shane here with etrailer.com. Today I have a 2019 Ford F-350 Super Duty.
This fifth wheel installation kit is designed to let you install your B&W companion fifth wheel trailer hitches. The underbed design of this kit allows for full truck bed access when you're ready. It's under 5 minutes to convert your empty truck bed into a fifth wheel hitch. We'll start by unlocking our B&W hitch and installing our fifth wheel adapter. We have ours pre-assembled, but you can adjust the uprights here depending on your truck and trailer combination. At this point, the hitch is ready to attach to the trailer. There's a little clip here that you can release. Basically, it's a safety pin. Then you can swing the handle out and you can watch the jaws open. You're ready to back into your trailer now. Once you're secure under the trailer, you can reinstall the clip. Since the fifth wheel installation kit doubles as a gooseneck hitch, when you're not towing your fifth wheel, you can remove it, turn it over, and we can store it upside down in the hitch. That way we'll have full bed access.
In my opinion, I think B&W is going to be the way to go if you're looking for an underbed hitch. The quality of their products, the quality of the paintwork, the quality of the hardware that they use, the instructions on installing it. Installing it's fairly simple and straightforward. There's not a whole lot of modifications you have to do. And once it's installed, it looks really clean. With that being said, let's go ahead and walk you through how to get it installed. To start your installation, it's a good idea to go ahead and remove your spare tire. Then we're going to get up in the bed. We're going to measure from the edge of our bed up per the instructions. And we're going to put a little mark. Now, if you have a spray-in bed liner, I'd say add about 1/16 of an inch. Then we need to find center between both of our wheel wells. Right in between here and here, right in the center, is going to be the center mark where we need to drill our hole. Then we're going to take a 4-inch hole saw bit and we're going to drill out our 4-inch hole. What I suggest doing is either take a piece of plywood, cut a 4-inch hole in it, and use that as your guide, or take the back of your leg, set it against the handle of your gun, and that'll should keep your gun from kicking around. Now what we're going to do is we're going to clean up our shavings. We're going to take a file. We're going to file the inside of this, and then we're going to spray it with some spray paint just to help kind of coat that bare metal to help prevent any rusting or corrosion later on. Once you've got your hole cut in your bed, then we're going to come down and start working underneath the vehicle. So now we're going to have an inner and outer frame bracket. What you need to do is look at your vehicle. If you have a pre-welded bracket on the inside of your frame, you're not going to be using the inner bracket from the kit. You're only going to use the outside one. We have one from the factory welded on the inside on both sides of our vehicle. What I like to do is I like to lay out my hardware. We're going to install our outside frame brackets. You're going to notice we have two different sizes. The shorter one's going to be passenger side, longer one's going to be driver side. We're going to take the largest bolt in our kit with a flat washer. We're going to have one for each hole. We're going to go from the outside in. This flange is actually, our frame's going to be here. This flange is going to be facing out towards our tire. Our bolt's going to go in like this through the frame rail in the factory hole. On the inside, we're going to put another flat washer, lock washer, and a nut. What we're looking for is this hole and that next hole up there towards the front. We're going to line our bracket up with those holes. Take our bolt, again from the outside going in. And then on the inside we'll put a flat washer, lock washer, and a nut. On the inside we'll put a flat washer, lock washer, and a nut. We'll use the same combination of hardware for this hole on our driver's side bracket, and then we're going to repeat the process for the passenger side. Before we move on to the next step, what I suggest doing is your brackets that are going on the front and this long bracket here has threaded holes in it. When these get painted, paint gets down inside those holes. What I suggest doing is tapping out those holes. A lot of times, most people aren't going to have taps that are that size because these are pretty large. What you can do is you can take a bolt, as long as it's the same threads, same size, take a rotary tool and you can cut grooves in it and you've just made your own tap. Take that, run it down through the correct holes. Once you've run it down through it, and you can use a power tool to do it, then take your bolt that's going to be going in and you want to be able to hand thread that in. If you can't hand thread it in, run it back through there again. Next we're going to install these. This one is going to be our passenger side. This one is going to be our driver's side. What we're going to do is from the inside, this is going to slide over our frame rail. This is going to line up with the inside bracket that's welded on the frame. This hole is going to line up with the frame bracket on the outside of the frame. You're going to have bolts in your kit. They're going to be black like this, and they have some Loctite on them. These are what is going to thread up through your bracket into these. We're going to take our passenger side bracket. We're going to slide it up. We're going to line up this hole with this hole. That. Take our bolt, and we're just going to hand thread it in for now. It's probably not going to go in too far because it has a Loctite on it. We'll get one on the inside and on the outside, and then we'll repeat the process for our driver's side bracket. You're going to have a tube that looks like this. You can see one side has 3 holes, the other side has 4. You're going to have a bracket that looks like this. You're going to match it up on the holes. Take a large bolt, go through both, and then on this end, we're going to take another large bolt and go through that hole. This is going to be our passenger side. That's going to be our driver's side. What we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to slide it up over our fuel tank. It's going to go in front of our driver's side bracket and behind our passenger side. The 2 bolts are going to slide through the bracket on our passenger side. Each one of the bolts on our passenger side are going to get a lock washer and then a nut. Our second bolt is actually going to be right here behind the exhaust a little bit. And then for this hole, another large bolt. We're going to go through our driver's side bracket and then through this tube. We're going to put on this washer or spacer block, then a lock washer, and then a nut. Now we're going to install our rear brackets. You're going to have 2 of them that look like this. You want to make sure you can kind of see how this curves. This is going to be your driver's side. This curve is going to go in front of the hat channel because we're going to have another bracket that slides up in between here on both sides. So we'll slide this over, similar to the way we did our driver's side, just like that. And then again, our bolts with the Loctite on them, we'll thread them up into the holes. We're going to do that same thing on the passenger side. And we're going to take this bracket, we're going to slide it in between our hat channel and our 2 rear brackets. We're going to have some short, thick bolts. You want to put on a lock washer and a flat washer. We're going to go through the bracket from the inside. We're going to have 2 on this side and 2 on this side. Now what we're going to do is take a 10mm socket. Our exhaust bracket that comes up on our frame rail, we're going to have 2 bolts here, and we're going to have 2 bolts on the outside. We're going to remove those so we're able to flex our exhaust down so we can get our hardware up here tightened or get a socket or wrench on them. Before we install our center section, we're going to have 2 longer bolts like this. Actually, we're going to have 4 of them. They're going to end up going in these 4 holes. What I'm going to do is I'm only going to put 2 of them in. so that when I install my center section or set up into place, the 2 bolts will hold it. I don't take a chance of pushing 3 or 4 of them out at one time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 2 center holes. One here, and one there. Now we'll take our center section. Notice the hole is kind of offset towards one side. We want the shorter side to go towards the cab of the vehicle. We're going to go up, and we want to get it right over those bolts. That. For our back side, we're going to have these shorter 1/2-inch bolts. Put on a lock washer and a flat washer. Get 2 of them in to hold our center section up in place. For these, we're going to put on a flat washer, a lock washer, and then a nut. Something here. And then we can install our 4 remaining bolts. We'll have 2 more longer ones over here, and then the combination of hardware for the 2 short ones going through the back. Now that we're done getting all of our brackets and hardware in underneath the vehicle, before we tighten anything up, you'll notice how this center section is kind of off center. If you're doing this by yourself, I'm going to show you a way to do it to help pull that up against the bed. Even if you're doing it with somebody, this is a way to keep it up tight so when you tighten all of your hardware, it goes in straight. With our hardware loose, we can take this and get it centered in our hole. You take 2 blocks. You can take 6x6s like this. If you have concrete blocks, anything like that, a couple stacks of 2x4s. Take a 2x4, put it right over the top. Take a ratchet strap, and down in the center, there's a pin that runs across. You're going to take the strap and you're going to hook it to that pin. We're going to do both hooks. And then we're going to tighten our strap and pull that head all the way up against the bottom of our bed. And while we're doing this, this will allow us to kind of adjust it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to tighten all of our hardware. We're going to tighten everything that's holding our center section to our brackets first. 3/4 inch socket for these. 15/16 socket for the larger ones. For the ones that are running through here, towards the front of the vehicle, we're going to need a socket and a wrench. Once we get all these tightened, and all these tightened across the back, then we're going to come back, we're going to tighten the black bolts going up through our frame brackets into our side brackets. We'll use a 3/4 inch socket for those. Once you get those tight, take a 15/16 socket and wrench, and we're going to tighten the 2 bolts going through the frame rail to our frame brackets. Then we're going to take an extension, swivel, 15/16 socket, and wrench. We're going to tighten the 2 bolts on each side running through our frame rail to our frame brackets. Once you get all your hardware tightened, you're going to go back and you're going to torque it in the same sequence that you tightened all of it down. You want to make sure you pay attention to the torque specs because the hardware is different sizes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to install our handle. Before doing so, you want to make sure if you're using the same situation that I did to strap up my center section, you want to make sure you loosen that because it is tied to the pin. Once you get that off, you're going to take your handle, you want to make sure that this end is facing down. We're going to slide it in, like that. Again, we're on the driver's side. We're going to take our pin and we're going to slide it out like this. Push it towards the front and then lock it into place. We're going to take our handle, we're going to line up with the 2 holes here. We're going to have a carriage bolt. It's going to go in from the top. Like that. We'll have 2 of them. And then we'll have flange nuts for the bottom. And we can take a 1/2 inch socket or wrench and tighten those down. Pull on your handle and make sure that it's sliding in there. Your pin's going in and out. Make sure your handle's working correctly. Once you get that done, we're going to come back and we're going to install our safety chain loops and our springs. So now we're going to drill out for our safety chain loops. We're going to open them up to a 1/2 inch. What I like to do is I'm going to start with a 1/2 inch, make a little spot in there, and then take a small bit, make a pilot hole. It'll make it a lot easier to drive this one through that metal once you have a small hole already drilled. But I'm going to use this so that it stays centered in the hole so that my pilot hole goes straight. We're going to do this in each one of these holes. You want to make sure you take it all the way up through the bed. I like to come up top and use the pilot holes to go down. Makes it a little bit easier on your shoulders. And once you get it opened up, take your safety chain loop. You want to make sure that it's going to slide in there free. If it feels like it's binding up a little bit, you can always take it back out and kind of open the hole just a little bit more. We're going to repeat the same process for this side. Once you get your holes drilled, again, come back, spray a little bit of paint in there on that bare metal and cover it up. Once we get both of our safety chain loops put in place, if we've made any adjustments necessary, we can go back down. We're going to put on our springs and our nuts on the bottom to hold them in place. We're going to have some Christmas tree shaped springs. We're going to put the large end up. Then we're going to have a lock nut we're going to put on. Once we get 2 of them on, what we want to do is we're only going to tighten the nut down enough to where the head of the bolt is about flush with this bottom side of the nut. Not like that. We're going to repeat that same thing for the other side. Once you have everything torqued to the specification and the instructions, go ahead and reinstall your exhaust, reinstall your spare tire, insert your ball into your hitch, lock your pin in place, and you're ready to go. That's going to do it for a look at and installation on our 2019 Ford F-350 Super Duty.